Ooh, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening from Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining me tonight as we start this symposium. Thank you so much. I can see everyone joining from different parts of the world. Kenya, here, Lagos. Ooh, Ibadan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please send the link to your friends, your neighbors. This is about all of us. Thank you so much. It's going to be a great week. Thank you for joining tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're hitting the ground running. My guests are ready. I'm ready, and I know you are also ready. Thank you from Ghana, from Germany. I will not be able to mention Canada. Thank you. I just want you to know that you're truly appreciated. Thank you so very much. So I welcome you to day one of the symposium, the discussion, the charts on abuse, causes, prevention, effects, and then healing. And this is my opening remark. I am Funke Felix-Adejumo. And a few months from now, I'm going to be 60. I said that so that you will understand what I'm about to say. We are dealing with three major generations. The generation of our parents, my generation, and the generation of our children. I call that the structured generation, the transition generation, and the handover generation. So we're dealing with three major generations. The structured generation, which is generation of our children, and beg your pardon, of our parents, and my generation. So many things were taught that we need to start on teaching. And I'm going to be very, very practical and real with you. And remember, I said I'm going to be 60. So you can imagine the generation that raised someone like me. The generation of our parents and my generation taught us that marriage is a do or die affair. If you are 27, you are 30, you are not yet married. As a man, you are 35. Then you begin to hear things like, when are we going to eat right? Going on here. Pressure, societal pressure, family pressure, all sorts of pressures will begin to come up. My generation and the generation of our parents, the structured generation. The woman is seen as a glorified slave. She's like one of the properties. A male child is superior. I remember when I was born, people gathered to cry for my father. A girl, what can she ever become? That's the generation I'm coming from. And that's the generation of my parents. But you see, times have changed. Because I saw my mother present water to my father while she's kneeling down and my father is drinking. Things like this were modeled to us. We had things like, if your husband's life is not better, you are a witch. And I have even said it. Because that was how we were raised. The pressure was on the woman. Make sure your marriage works. In fact, when we were getting married, the night of our wedding, they would tell us, you see this your room. Forever you cannot come back here. This is how we grew up. Nobody told us that. So if as a woman, your husband's life does not increase, you are a witch, then as a man, if your wife's life does not increase or get better after marriage, you are a witch or a wizard. Beg your pardon. Figuratively, actually nobody is a witch and nobody is a wizard. 60 years ago, this is how we were raised. Everything, woman. Therefore, you notice that even in my generation, it's only women's conferences. And many of the preachings that I did in years past, women's conferences. So we were preparing the woman, only the woman. And nobody was talking to the man. Submit, dress well, give your husband sex. Whether it's convenient for you or not, it doesn't matter. But you know one thing I have come to realize? The illiterate of the 21st century are not the people that cannot read or write. They are the people that cannot unlearn and relearn. That's why I'm here. That's why I even got a coach. I also had to start unlearning and relearning that no woman is a witch because her husband's life is not better. I preached it before. Now I'm unlearning. This was what we were taught. This was how we were raised. But you see, I refuse to sit down there and continue to preach the same thing. I refuse to be a 21st century illiterate. If your husband's life does not increase, then you are a witch. Then if your wife's life too does not increase, then you are a wizard. But it is just figurative. This was what they taught us. But now we are saying, no. Every adult is responsible for his life. We will bring our best to the table as a man or as a woman. But you cannot tell me that it is because I'm not dressing well. That's why you went into adultery or you went to go and have another child. You cannot tell me that it's because, as a man, you don't give enough money at home. That's why as a woman, I went into adultery. Nobody's going to take that anymore. The illiterate of the 21st century are not the people that cannot read or write. They are the people that cannot unlearn and relearn. So I'm unlearning several things. I actually apologize. Honestly, I'm unlearning some things and I'm learning and relearning, using my platforms to let us know that every adult is responsible for his or her success. That's the first thing I'd like to say here tonight. And it's a sign of pride for you, if you have authority over people, not to admit your mistake and not to correct it. Hebrews chapter 1, from verse number 1 to verse number 2, the Bible says that God, who at sundry times, before, used to do things like this, now. So we're all learning. As leaders, we have the ladder of growth and learning and development. This is why we are here tonight. The second thing I like to say is that we're not talking about religion in this symposium, these 5 days. I am a Christian, unapologetically a Christian. I am a Jesus girl. But you see, we are talking about human beings. We are talking about human beings. The answers that we gave 10 years ago can no longer work. We're dealing with a different generation. When we're talking about you are a witch or you are a wizard, whoever knew that life would be like this? There was no internet. So something I said in the village or in a small church then, it's now, everywhere. And once it is there, everybody begins to repost. So let's understand that we are talking about human beings. We're not here to defend women or to defend men. We are here as fellow human beings to look at what is causing domestic violence, which is a part of abuse. I'm glad to let you know that this is just part 1. These 5 days, we're going to be challenging, we're going to be listening and all that. And then every week, we're going to be talking about various subjects. Adultery, infidelity, stepmother, stepfather, incest, in-laws, betrayal, finance, every Tuesday. And I'm going to be bringing different people. It's such an honor to be hosting you today. Please understand that there are still good men and there are still good women. Marriage is not as bad as the devil is trying to paint it. There are still good men and there are still good women. There are still good marriages. There are still great marriages. There is no perfect marriage anywhere. Thank you. That's my opening remark, and I welcome you. Thank you so much. Tonight, I have a beautiful intelligent woman that will be kicking us off. I've known her for close to 25 years. But she has been through it all. And we're going to be listening to her tonight. She's a certified counselor of 30 years of experience. She's a life coach. She's a trauma counselor. She's an addiction therapist. She's even a polygrapher. So you can't even lie when you go to her for counseling. She will bring out her machine. You know, she's a polygrapher. She's a singer. I first knew her as a singer. And then she's an author. If you have any question, thank you. I'm trying to read, you know, all that you are sending. Thank you so very much. Therefore, if you have any question, my team will be taking notes. And then in the course of this 1 week, we're going to be answering your questions. I'm going to use my mic now to Reverend Christie Bature. This woman is a raw deal. This woman is something else. Get ready to hear her speak. Good evening, Bishop Christie. Good evening, ma'am. And thank you for being such a massive blessing to our world. I'm giving the mic to you now for the next 40 minutes. Please go ahead and be very free, ma'am, to share what God laid on your heart for us. Thank you. Please unmute yourself. We can't hear you, ma'am. Williams, we can't hear her, please. Please unmute yourself, ma'am. Please, the volume is low. Please unmute, ma. Unmute yourself, Reverend Christie. If you need help, just call your son. We just need to hear this lady tonight. Woo. And we also have a psychologist. Okay. Oh, Reverend Christie, we're waiting. We have a clinical psychologist that will also be sharing with us tonight. We can't hear her. We're waiting. Woo. Okay. Can you please help her? We need to hear her. We're ready. We are so ready. We need to hear her. So while she's getting back, please understand that domestic violence is just one of the various forms of abuse. I held a program some time ago for girls, and a young girl came towards me. She was followed by two adults, a man and a woman. I'm sure Reverend Christie will rejoin, you know. Oh, she's here.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, I have to change my device.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sorry, give me a minute.
Good evening. Thank you. Okay, we can't see your face, ma'am.
No, I'm changing my device immediately.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Let me get out of this one so it doesn't interfere.
Okay.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Yes, we can hear you clearly, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what happened. The audio just went off. But thank you, Mama, for the privilege of being here with you today. And it's painful that this is the kind of event that is bringing us to this point. But with our God, all things work together for good. All. One of the most gladdening things I have heard in the last weeks since our sister's passing is the young girl who called off her wedding that was supposed to have happened on Saturday. She came on social media, put the wedding card and said, I am not marrying. I have been hiding the fact that this man, the moment he paid my bride price, he started beating me. He was supporting him. So I'm not marrying. I'm sorry. I apologize to my family. I'm black. I was so happy because it told me that our sister's passing is waking some people up, is stirring things up, is creating an awareness of this thing that has been shrouded by the conspiracy of silence, which is domestic violence. All right. So I want to thank God for this platform, and I thank God for the person you are and for taking it up with it. My first encounter with domestic violence, I was 7 years old. And we lived in a neighborhood where some of the houses were flats, but some of the houses were face me, I face you kind of house. If you're not a Nigerian, you won't understand that one, and I can't explain it. So every once in a while, you will hear this particular woman. As young as I was, I cannot forget the words she always used to repeat. And it was in her language. I don't know what tribe that was. But you hear her screaming at the top of her voice. Then everybody will run from their own houses, run to where this woman is, and the husband is beating her. So when he starts beating her from inside the room, she'll be trying to run outside so that people can rescue her, and she will be shouting. And all I remember is her trying to cover her head because he's punching the face. He's punching the head. Now, the interesting thing, Mama, was the attitude of people when they came around. It was fun. It was entertainment. I don't remember anybody looking sad and broken or worried or afraid. What they came to do was, wow, they have started again. Yes, let's go and watch. Let's go and watch. Then when he has beaten her enough, some people will now, perfunctorily go in and say, oh, guy, don't do now, leave them, as women be. So quietly, a mentality started forming in me. Women are somehow. A woman is somehow, and beating is how you keep her in check. All right. Then my second memory of domestic violence is of my dad and my mom. My dad and mom had been married for about 25 years, and my father never lifted his finger on her. But maybe about that 25th year, my dad decided he wanted to marry another woman. And he started having an affair with this woman. My mom didn't go to school. So this lady my father is carrying is, he immediately started having an affair with her. He put her in nursing school. She had finished secondary school. He put her in nursing school. This was 1976. And so she would come to the house and have this superior attitude of an educated woman. And the illiterate, no, she didn't used to come to the house. My dad used to just keep her away. But one day, my dad became audacious. He brought the woman to the house. And my mom, for the first time in my life, I saw my mom stand up to my dad. She just walked to the door, the front door, and said to the woman, you're not welcome here. Please go back to where you're coming from. You are not welcome here. That's all she said to her. And my dad, my mom was pregnant. She was about 5 or 6 months pregnant. He hit my mom and immediately her nose began to bleed. Ma, that's a 45-year memory. And I have not forgotten the dress my mother was wearing. It was a yellow deep yellow, mustard yellow top that had red flowers on it. And my mom was bleeding from the nose. And then my dad was raging and ranting. Then he quickly took the woman and was leaving the house. And he said to my mom, by the time I return, you must not be here. If I find you here when I return, whatever you get, take. So my mom, he left with the woman to take her back to house. My mom went into the room and began to pack a suitcase. The terror of that day. The terror that gripped us, the children. We were just standing, shaking, afraid. Our mother is going. How are we going to cope? My mom was the stability of that house. She was quiet, but she was strong. So my mom packed a suitcase. Her youngest child then, which was our youngest brother, was about 2 or 3 years old. She took him, and then the house help we had, she brought her from her own village. So she said, I have to take her back to her parents. And my mom went downstairs to the road to get a cab. Just as she got into the cab, my dad was returning. He saw the cab and he sped past them and drove to the motor park. My dad was a VIO, Vehicle Inspection Officer. They are the ones that issue driver's licenses to all drivers. So my dad got to that park before her and called the chief of the park, I don't know what they called them, and told him there's a pregnant woman coming with a little boy and a 16-year-old girl. Tell every driver in this motor park, anyone that picks that woman, his license is gone. My mom didn't know what had happened. She arrives at the motor park, goes to the part of the park that goes to my place, Kafanchan, and they just told her, Madam, we cannot carry you. My car is not going. I'm not the one loading. Madam, you cannot enter this car. You cannot. For 2 hours, nobody will carry my mom. So she left the park and came to the main road and said, okay, let me pick another vehicle, maybe halfway, and from there I will go. Every vehicle that stopped, somebody will run from the park. Oga, no carry this woman, no. If you carry and your license, don't go. Oga, no carry this woman, no. Why? Her husband and VIO, he said, make we no carry her. And they will speed off. My mom got so tired, she sat on her box with the young lady and the child. Then my father drove back to that park and said to her, get inside the car. And because she had no other option, my mom stood up, put her box in the car, and came back to the house. There is no record of my father ever apologizing to that woman for hitting her. But that thing left a terrible scar on my brain. I began to develop a rage that was not explainable. I was raging at my father and at the impotence I had to do anything. Now, I'm a northern girl. It is a taboo to even speak back to your parents, not to talk of get up and get in their face. No. And you are a girl on top of that. No, you can't do that. So you sat and the anger was building. I'm saying this because part of the reason why women stay, or part of the reasons why women stay in abusive relationships, they say, is for the children. But what you don't realize is that you are damaging those children worse by letting them witness the violence. I have a 45-year memory that won't go away. Only that once that my father hit my mom, once knew, never again, once. And I couldn't get away from it. I became angry at my father. That anger sat there for years. I lost respect for my father that day. I used to eulogize him. I used to idolize him. That day, he was on the ground. He was on the ground. So he ended up marrying that woman. And, of course, began to treat us funny every time she was around. If you went to ask him for money to go to school, you tell you he doesn't have, then she will now go and open her purse and be giving you money. And I hated that. So one day I went to my dad, two of us, my sister and I, went to ask him for money for books. He said he didn't have. And the woman allowed my sister to go out, my older sister. Then she gave me money. I went to my mother and said, Mommy, Daddy gave me money for my books. Hey. My mother said, why will he give one and not give the other? Both of you are in the same class. It's not fair. So she dragged me and went back to him. Why will you give one person and not give the two? My father said, I didn't give anybody any money. She said, but here's the money in the child's hand. And she turned to me, Christy, who gave you the money? I said, it's Daddy. To his face. The man turned in shock. I didn't give you any money. I said, you gave me money. He beat me that day. My dad doesn't beat children. He beat me that day, and I kept saying, you gave me the money. I didn't want to say the other woman gave me the money. I didn't want to hurt my mom. I wanted to embarrass my dad. It was my only way of hitting back at him. You are the one who gave me the money. The man stood there in total shock because I have never exhibited that kind of behavior. When he got tired of beating me, he left me. My mother gave him back the money. If you will not give the two of them, take your money back. And we walked out of the room without the money. I felt that I had scored a major victory that day by lying against my father and making him uncomfortable. It was a sense of victory I had. I've revenged small for my mom. But so see what is happening to me. My mom is staying there because her children have to have a home, but it's turning me into this blatant, bold liar that has no remorse, that is enjoying the lie. And so these are some of the things that are the fallouts of staying in an abusive relationship. So that's the experience from my family of origin, until I grew up and started ministry, and young girls will come to the fellowship we're having and be asking me questions like, oh ma, we're engaged, we're going to be married in 6 months, but he beats me, what do I do? Something in me would stare, and I would say to them, he's beating you already, you haven't married him, please don't marry him. But I didn't have any moral backing, any thing to use and back up what I was saying, so I wasn't vehement or insistent. And they would marry. One of them, I remember particularly, the guy, very rich, big family here in River State. The marriage didn't last 1 year. They were in England. She ran back to Nigeria. They beat him. In London, no. London, where you can call police. He will beat her senseless. She ran back with a pregnancy, and she had that child away from the husband. I don't even know if they have gone back together. It's been more than 10 years. So, what is domestic violence? What is domestic abuse? Of course, we know that domestic means in inside house. The violence is one partner using verbal, psychological, sexual, or physical abuse to attempt to exert power and control over the other. Abuse is about two things going. One is modeling. Two is the attempt to exert power and control over the other. Modeling, I don't think any of us ever tells our daughters, go and put on my lipstick. But you can just walk into your room and your little daughter has gone to your dressing table. She has rubbed lipstick here and the eye pencil here. She's wearing your shoes. She has carried your handbag. She's trying to walk. There is nothing like do as I say, don't do as I do. Children model. Monkeys see, monkey do. Even animals. When Jacob put those sticks in front of cows, they reproduced what they saw. And cows are of lower mental capacities than humans, but they could reproduce what they were seeing. Not to talk of human beings. So I read, I don't know how true it is, that one of Osinachi's children said that when his father was beating his mom, he would tell them it's good to beat a woman. Now, this boy, if nobody deconstructs that, he will beat his wife, not because he's a bad man, but because he's reproducing the model he saw. You can't give what you don't have. It works both ways. if all he saw was violence as a way of relationship between a husband and his wife, that's the model. He will reproduce it except for the intervention of God. So domestic abuse is one about modeling. Most of the people who abuse are from abusive backgrounds. They are also products of abuse themselves. They don't know any better. A man came to me and he said his wife is cheating on him. His wife is cheating on him. He wants a divorce. His wife, very beautiful woman. I said, sir, is it okay if I talk to your wife too? He said, yes. He brought the wife. I said, why is your husband saying you are cheating? She said she doesn't know. But that she has a very, she's a public relations kind of job. And they had an outreach, a program, a symposium in Presidential Hotel in Port Harcourt. And so she, as she was coming out on one of the evenings, she met an old friend, a male friend. And she was so excited to see him. They went to school together. She was just, and then she told the husband, oh, I met up with an old friend. I mean, he was almost my boyfriend. We were that close, but things didn't work out and he went on his own, The husband came to the hotel the next day secretly. Of course, the guy had come into town for his own business. So he was in the hotel for 3 or 4 days. They met up again in the lobby. She greeted him. She's cheating on me. So I told the wife, can you go outside? Let me ask your husband a few questions. I said, tell me about your mom and your dad. The guy just broke down and started crying. His mother was caught red-handed, cheating on the father. And that destroyed their home. So he has carried that thing at the back of his mind. Women cheat on their husbands. And for no reason, he was giving his wife hell at home because he felt, oh no, she's meeting up with her old boyfriend. Now, the person the mother cheated with was the mother's old boyfriend. So now this is what is called transferred aggression. He has carried that thing from where he's coming and he has brought it into this space. Now, wherever we go, people, we always take home with us. We never leave home behind. Home follows us. Home follows us. No matter how fast you run, you are taking home with you. Now, the only time home doesn't become a problem is when you are honest enough with yourself and you get into the place of brutal self-honesty and you say to yourself, something is wrong with this mindset. Something is wrong with this. Something is wrong with this from my home. Then you take steps to begin to correct it. Otherwise, wherever you go, you take home with you. If home was broken, you are carrying that brokenness to the new place. If home was healthy, you're bringing a healthy person into that space. If home was messed up, you are a messed up human being coming to mess up the new space that you are entering. So most abusers are products of abuse. A man came to me and told me that his wife beat him. She had been beating him for all the 10 years of their marriage. Now, in fact, she's the one who came. He beat me. He beat me. He hit me. Immediately I heard he hit me. I got angry. How can you hit your wife? Call him. Call him. He came. Oga, what is the meaning of this? I thought you were a decent man. He said, ma, please, can I talk? I said, yes. She said, I beat her. Okay, can I say what I have to say? I said, yes. Did she tell you she has been beating me for the 10 years of our marriage? It's only once I hit her. This last time that she's coming to. I said, what's that? She said, because I made a vow never to lift my hand on my wife. And I made the mistake of telling her. So she took it as license. Every little thing, she will punch me. She will slap me. She will shove me. He said, where it became a problem, our 6-year-old son had an assignment in school. We didn't even know. The school just sent for 2 of us. So we went and they showed us. They asked them to write a short essay on their family. And the 6-year-old wrote only 1 sentence and submitted it. In my family, my mother beats my father. That's all he wrote and submitted. So the school said, no, something is wrong here. And the man now went home and called the wife and said, this is not the picture of marriage that the children should have. This is not right. The son could not remember all the good times they are having in the family, all the places they go on holiday, all the abroad that they travel to. All he remembers is that his mother beats his father. That's trauma. So the man said to her, please, after now, don't ever lay your finger on me. I will beat you if you touch me, for the sake of our children. Maybe she thought he was joking, or maybe she has formed habit already of beating. The next thing that happened, she slapped him. He just picked her up and beat her in places where she cannot show anybody unless she strips. He beat her on the stomach, beat her on the back, beat her on the laps. So unless she will strip naked, she can't show anybody evidence that he beat her. And then she came running to me. He beat me. He beat me. The way she was talking to the husband that day in my office, I was shaking in shock. So after a while, I told the man, sir, please, can you go out? And I said to her, do you weigh your words before you speak them? I said, you are so disrespectful of this man. I'm surprised that even in my office, he has not punched you. The kind of things you are saying. So I asked her about her mother with her own mouth. She described her mother, and she was the mini version of her mother. It's like she didn't even realize it until the day she was talking to me. She just started crying because as she would say it, she would remember something identical in her own home, and she's like, oh my God. I said, you are just repeating your mother's life completely. And in the end, the mother and the father separated. Guess what, Mama Adejumo? Today, that woman is separated from the husband. They are even in the process of divorce because she couldn't come back from that place of nastiness. She lived in it perpetually. She could not come back. She didn't know, she could not do the work it took to deconstruct and then reconstruct in another direction. She couldn't. So domestic violence is, and it's also not about anger, Mama. Anger is one of the excuses for domestic violence. It's not the cause of domestic violence. Anger is an excuse. There are many excuses that people give for domestic violence, but they say it's because I was angry. No, all of us get angry. Mama, you get angry. Do you get up and punch Papa Adejumo? He has not annoyed you before? Oh, in our offices, don't we get angry? Do we slap people when we're angry? No. So anger is not the cause for violence. Anger is an excuse for violence. And we must get that right because we have given anger a bad rap. But when you look at it critically, anger is an excuse for abuse. It's not a reason for abuse because we all get angry. We don't go around slapping people and punching people because we're angry. And all of us have already the fruit of the spirit called temperance. We do, but we just choose where to exercise it. If a policeman slaps you in his uniform and you are 3 times bigger than him, do you slap the policeman? You can't slap him. You immediately exercise self-control there. You have it. It's inborn, but you choose where to deploy it. So you come home where you think you are king of the road or alpha, and you choose not to exercise self-control. You beat on people, you verbally abuse, you physically abuse, you spiritually abuse, you sexually abuse, you financially abuse, you psychologically abuse, you economically abuse. All forms of abuse going on in the house. So let me touch just a few myths about abuse that they peddle around, especially concerning women. Number one, they say women like being abused. Now, so she like him. If I never beat her, she never happy. Mama, you were saying something earlier in your opening remark when you said that there were some things that were passed down and we just mouthed them back. We just carried them as the norm. They peddled this I don't know what to call it, mindset that women like to be beaten. If you know beat them, she no go get herself. So make her beat them. And we parrot it. You hear some women in this day and age say, if he never beat me, if he doesn't beat me, I don't feel like he loves me. It's indoctrination. It is modeling. It is repetition of what they heard over and over and over again until faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. Is a double-edged sword. So that's the first myth. The second myth is that women always exaggerate their claims of abuse. When a woman is talking, the first thing they do is shout her down. No, that man, I know him very well. He cannot hurt a fly. Hey, he cannot hurt a fly. So the woman just shuts up immediately because she knows she's not going to be heard. The third one is women always lie about being abused. It's not true. It's only in the last few years that I began to talk about the abuse I suffered in my marriage. And people will look at me and say, well, Christy, it's not possible. It's not true. No, you are joking. It's not possible. You, that is always so bubbly, so always on point, come out and minister, you are blah, 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 blah. It's not possible. And I'll be looking at them. I can't convince you, but it's my reality. I know what I dealt with. Mama Adejumo, you knew me as a single girl, already ministering across this nation and other nations of the world. By the time my husband was done with verbal and psychological abuse, I did not have the confidence to mount a pulpit and minister. I stopped going out to minister because I felt worthless. I was already a known minister nationwide before I married. So it's not that I was overconfident. If they invite me, I know, say I get anointed. No, but I knew who I was. I had come into that place where I knew God had called me and I was doing his will. But when the verbal abuse and the psychological abuse began, I lost all sense of self. So if anyone invited me, I would say, I'm not available. I'm committed. I can't come. I was lying. I wasn't committed and I wasn't unavailable. I did not have the confidence to stand up on the pulpit because I kept telling myself, what do you know? You're just a fool. Eh? You have nothing to show for your life all these years of ministry. You have no focus. You go there now and talk rubbish. Maybe what you even wrote down as notes is nonsense. You go and read it now and come back and nobody will be blessed. And you're just useless. Mama Adejumo, I hardly preach with notes now. I have to start telling the Holy Spirit, help me. I'm afraid to write because I will write nonsense. So as I open my mouth, you have already promised me in the scripture that when I open my mouth, you will feel it. So when I go, Lord, fill my mouth. Hardly will you find me with notes preaching. Because that thing knocked my confidence out of me. So I retracted, but then I love God. He showed me another way to bring expression to what was inside. I started writing books. So that became an escape for me. It became an escape. So these are some of the myths that surround domestic violence and women. Many false beliefs about domestic violence, especially in the church. I know you said this is not a church matter. We're talking about human beings. I agree. But ma, I am a church person and I operate within the confines of the church. Yes, I go outside sometimes, but for me, the church is the center point of civilization. If the church doesn't do well, society will fail. If the church does well, society will do well. And so if I will talk about domestic violence, I would like to narrow it to the church. If we get it right in the church, revival is not when we fall on the ground and foam on the mouth and have convulsions when they are praying. Revival is when righteousness is so strong, it changes the direction of society. That's revival. When the effect of church is so strong that society is shifted to turn and face God, that is revival. It doesn't happen when we're foaming on the ground. It happens when we're living out the life of Christ and enforcing the kingdom of God on the earth. So if the church gets it right, the rest of the world will get it right. Absolutely, I believe that. It's not a dogmatic claim. It's just what it is. So the church would rather say, oh, there's no domestic abuse in our church. We don't have that in our church. And I laugh. I have met pastors like that, Mama. It doesn't happen in our church. We don't have people like that here. I say, sometimes that claim is because of fear. Why? If you admit that there is domestic violence, then you must also admit that you have a responsibility to do something about it. And many people do not want to take that responsibility, again, because they are ill-equipped. They don't know what to do. Sometimes it's because there's no moral courage to confront it, because the pastor you are reporting to is beating the wife too. Ma, I have many pastors' wives that are my friends. Their husbands beat them, pound them at home, then come to church and counsel women who have been beaten. So guess the kind of counsel they will tell the woman, go and submit some more. Because there is no moral courage to speak truth. Why? The finger of accusation is being pointed right back at you because you are guilty of what you're trying to counsel another woman of. I know them, Mama, they come to me to cry. Then they will beg me, please don't tell him. I am very conversant with please don't tell him. Don't tell him. Don't tell him. Do you know what I've done sometimes when I got tired? I went. I will go. I've confronted a few pastors. They don't like me. I don't need you to like me. Not that written me one terrible stinker. I taught her how to survive. So the man has written me a letter, abused me very well. I didn't answer him. The girl escaped with her life. That's all that matters to me. She escaped. What is another thing, another myth? When they say there's no abuse, there's another one that says she only needs to pray some more and submit some more. Christian survivors only need more faith, prayer, a positive attitude, and God to be freed from domestic violence. And when they say that, they don't do anything for her. They don't do anything for her, they leave her. Finally, let me just say one more. Domestic occurs only in certain cultural or religious or wealth circles. The blacks that are abused, now lie everywhere across board. Poor, rich. The poor may be out of frustration, but the rich is unexplained. But ma, these are some of the things that drive the thing deeper. When we believe these myths and these lies and peddle them over and over and not confront them, not challenge them, not question them. And that's what you were saying in your opening remark. So I don't know if I said anything worthwhile here, but time's up.
Oh my God. Oh,
my time is up.
God. Oh my God. Reverend Christie, can we give you like 15 more minutes? Tell us your personal experience. You are just the bomb, I'm telling you. Woo! Thank you. This is so good. The comments are amazing. Amazing. So it's not only about when the man beats you or when the woman beats you, because like I said, we're dealing with both. There are abusive men and there are abusive women. And there are good men and there are good women. So you spoke about you losing your confidence.
Yes.
And then you told us how you got it back. Because I read questions. I can read questions. Yeah. And this is just the first night. I'll give you my information later. But I want to give you like 15 more minutes. Tell us about it. Oh. Network. Did you hear me, ma'am? Okay.
About myself?
Yes, please.
Hello, Mama. Did you say I should tell about myself?
Yes, yes. You spoke to us about your background. So let's hear
no,
about
ma,
your
I didn't hear what you said.
Tell us about your marriage.
Okay.
You referred to it that you were in an abusive relationship.
Oh, okay. Okay. So when I just mentioned a little, yes. Yeah. I was. I made reference already of the verbal and psychological abuse. Now, all my babies were born by CS. So they cut me open to bring them out. So my stomach was really very big, because when you have CS exercise, you can't tie it. So it just sits there. And the longer it sits, the harder it is to get rid of. And then you're having more babies on top of that. So I started hearing things like, what kind of fat stomach is this? Look at your fat stomach. I don't like fat women. I don't think I'll be going anywhere with you anymore. When I'm going out, you stay at home. I'll go and buy you a big TV and a popcorn machine. You'll be watching movies. Let me go out. I can't go out with you. I don't like fat women. So my self-confidence began to go down. Because here I am. I've put on weight from having these babies. And so I started going to the gym. Women, don't kill yourself. Hey, I started going to the gym. I was going to the gym. Mama, I was doing sit-up to work on the stomach. And one time as I was coming back up, I just heard, bah, bah, my back. 2 discs slipped at the same time because I'm trying to walk on a belly that there is a reason for the belly being like that. I slipped 2 discs, Mama. They had to take me all the way to England. It was horrible. So now I have an inversion machine in my house because that injury happened 22 years ago, Mama, 23 years ago. But my back, once in a while, it will flare up and incapacitate me. So I have an inversion machine in my house. Once it flares up, I go on the machine and it will decompress my spine, decompress my spine. Over a few days, I have to keep doing that before the pain will come down again. That happened, that injury happened because I was trying to reduce a stomach I gained while having babies. Now, maybe if I was not that desperate, I wouldn't have pushed that hard. Or I would have had an instructor to tell me how far to go. And then I got that injury, you know. So every time I'm pregnant, I'm also afraid that the weight of the pregnancy will aggravate my back issue. So you see, it has come from verbal abuse to physical injury. He didn't injure me, but he injured me. He's not the one that broke my back, but he's the one that broke my back. So there's a song Cameron sang. Cameron, the one, this musician called Cameron. He sang a song. He said, there are many voices in the wind, but you got to choose the one you're listening to. At this point, Mama, my husband's voice had drowned the voice of God. I couldn't hear God anymore. There was no comfort from scripture, no comfort from songs. I couldn't hear. His voice was loud because what the enemy kept magnifying was, this is the person that knows you the best. He's the most intimate person. And if he thinks this way about you, that must be how you are. You just think you are smart, but you actually speak. Mama, I read electrical engineering. I'm not a dummy. But by the time he was done with me, I felt like the worst dunce on earth. I didn't feel intelligent or where did you learn how to speak English? My husband will give me this look like, you're trying to deceive them with the small English you speak. We'll go out for functions. My husband will leave me chair and go and sit with another woman and be gisting with her in the name of friend and leave me there sitting like an idiot alone. These are all forms of abuse, man. They are all systematic ways of whittling down your self-confidence and your self-esteem. If I was good enough, wouldn't my husband sit beside me? If I was good conversation, wouldn't he be talking with me? Or he can sit beside me and I'm here, but he will position us next to maybe another lady of high standing and be gisting with her throughout, and I'm right beside him. And I'm right beside him. Mama, I lost myself. I lost myself. And then the first time he physically hit me, we were in the car with the children. We traveled to Benin. My husband is from Benin. We went to see his father and his mom. So something, he had omitted to do something in Port Harcourt where we live. And they called us and said, oh, this thing was left undone. And it was a critical part of the trip to Benin. So he started asking me in the car, what happened? Now, he didn't realize that he's the one that didn't do what he was supposed to do. He thought it was me. So he was not asking me in the car, what happened? What? So I knew that if I told him, he would be embarrassed because the children were in the car. He would be embarrassed after shouting, you are even the one at fault. And I didn't want to embarrass him in front of the children. So I said to him, I said, please, honey, can you wait? Let's get home to the house. When we're in our room, I'll explain to you what happened. Who are you to tell me when to ask you a question and when not to ask you? I said, no, that's not what I'm doing. But please, the conversation will not be okay with the children in the car. Let's get home. Answer me now. Now. 3 times I begged him to wait. And we're already close to the house. He said I must answer him. I should not tell him when to ask me question. So me to open my mouth and started answering him. Immediately he heard that he was the one who didn't do what he was supposed to do. Shut up! Shut up! Stop talking now! By that point, vex have reached me here. I said, no, I'm not going to stop talking. Shall I begged you 3 times to wait, you refused. I will tell you everything in this car. So I kept talking, and the next thing I heard was bam across my face in the car. I was shocked into immobility. I never imagined in my whole life that I will ever be in a marriage where the man will even contemplate hitting me, not to talk of actually doing it. Mama, my heart broke to 1,000 pieces that day. I grieved like somebody had died. I grieved. The picture of my mother being slapped came back to me, and fear crippled me from that day, Mama. I became afraid. I became afraid. The times when issues will happen and I will speak up in the marriage, I could no longer speak because my mortal fear became, I don't want to be hit again. So I now started taking all kinds of abuse and not speaking back. Why? I don't want to be hit again. It took him 3 weeks to apologize for hitting me that day. So, Mama, I want to say the second thing that domestic abuse is, the first one I said is modeling. The second one is control. And in talking about control, I must mention that most of the people who are physically and verbally abusive are people who have high levels of narcissistic personality disorder. We must shout this one from all the rooftops, Mama. We are churning out narcissists in record number across the world. People with huge senses of entitlement, people with power and control issues, people without empathy. 2 Timothy chapter 3 from verse 2 is the perfect description of narcissistic personality disorder. That's the biblical definition for narcissism. And so most of the people who abuse are high on the narcissistic scale. Every one of us has some narcissism in us, all of us. I give you an example. If you're in a group photograph and they take a photo, once they give you the photo, who do you look for first in the picture? Is yourself. And if you think that you're not looking your best in the picture, you condemn the whole picture and say, this picture is not nice. This picture is not a good picture. Because as far as you are concerned, you're not looking your best in the picture. That's the narcissist in you talking. All of us have it. But narcissism exists on a spectrum from 0 to 10. The higher you are on the scale, the more cruel and unkind you are. The more controlling and abusive you are. The more unforgiving you are. So people that abuse others in marriages are high on the narcissistic scale. They are without empathy. They demand praise all the time, demand attention, demand compliance, physically assault to intimidate, because that's what it is. It's about control and power. You want to intimidate the person into silence, so you do exactly what you want to the person. You want to exert control on another human being until they're like a puppet in your hand. So women who are in abusive situations would do well to go and study up on narcissistic personality disorder. It will take some of your offense away, Mama. That's how I began to heal. When I found out that there was something called narcissistic personality disorder, and I realized I wasn't dealing with a person, I was dealing with a phenomenon. It dealt with some of my pain and offense. Bitterness dropped from me. I said, oh, so it's not me. Because one of the classic things that an abuser does is what is called gaslighting. They gaslight you until you doubt your own reality. For example, I'll give you an example. So this narcissistic guy had a girlfriend that was she was a competitive, she competed in ice skating. But every time she comes back after the competition, her knees will be on fire. So she has to put ice packs on them. So anytime she's going out to compete, she will buy us ice and put in her freezer, so that the moment she comes back, she will get the ice and put on her knees. One day they quarreled, she and this her boyfriend that says he loves her. And she left for her competition. He took all the ice and threw it in the gutter. The ice melted. The woman comes back in pain and runs to the fridge. And there is no ice block. And she's like, where's the ice I bought and put here? He said, which ice? She said, I went to the store. I bought ice. I put it. He said, I've told you that something has started going wrong with you. Where if you bought ice and put in the freezer, where is it? You need to see the psychiatrist, or something is happening to you. I've been telling you this thing. And the woman herself turned and said, it's true. I really didn't buy ice, so because where is it? Because in her human mind, she cannot believe that this person who loves her would take her ice and throw away when he knows how critical it is for her needs. And she has to wait till tomorrow and stay with the pain for 12 hours before she can go to the shop to buy ice again and put on. So most people who are abused are called empaths, E-M-P-A-T-H-S, empathetic people. And the controllers are like hunters. They know how to zero in on sympathetic, empathetic, kind-hearted people and draw them in. When they have drawn you in, that period is called the love bombing period. They will bomb you with love. So love you until you feel like you found your soulmate. When they have you where they want you, they begin to isolate you, cut you off from family, from friends, from anybody that means anything to you. So you become isolated and you feel that their love is enough for you. So you don't mind losing the friends because this person, he gets you, she gets you, she loves you, you are kindred spirit. What you don't know is that before they came to approach you, they went on a fact-finding mission about you. They talked to people around you, went to your social media page, they found out the songs you like, they found out the kind of books you like, they bought the CDs of those songs and put in their car, and they bought the books and put on their shelf. So the day you go to the house, they're like, oh, look at the books I like to read. Be like, this is my favorite book. Be like, oh, wow, we're so alike. Nobody can love you like I love you. So when they are cutting you off from people, you are not even aware. When they finally have isolated you, they begin to devalue you. At that point, you have nowhere to turn. So you are forced to stay with the abuser. And that's when you develop what is called trauma bonding. It's called trauma bonding or the Stockholm Syndrome, where you feel that you cannot escape your abuser. So you turn around and become emotionally and psychologically bonded to him because you can't escape. That's why Sister Osinachi didn't leave. She had developed Stockholm Syndrome. She had developed trauma bonding. She's bonded to her traumatizer. So even if the opportunity came for her to run, she will not take the opportunity. It's a psychological conditioning. It's a condition. In fact, it needs a psychiatric doctor to deconstruct, or a clinical psychologist deconstruct trauma bonding. It is very hard to break. A woman who is trauma bonded will stay there and die rather than leave, even if you gave her the opportunity. That's why you rescue some women and they go back. You rescue them, they go back. And you are confused. Can't you see what is happening to you? She can't. She has a condition called Stockholm Syndrome. I developed that at a point. Another name for a codependent. The that is beating you is addicted to beating you, and you are addicted to the person. You are addicted to the person because you're always obsessing about the person. Hey, I don't know what he will come back and say now. I don't know where he is now. I don't know what he's doing now. I don't know which one you will come and pick up on. No, then you become a woman that is fidgety, anxious. You are always checking. You become a control freak. You develop OCD, or compulsive disorder. Man is a cascade of different things as a result of the previous one, as a result of that other one. Things just keep snowballing until you are damaged, the children are damaged, the marriage is damaged, and then tragedy can happen. You lose your life process. So that first experience of being slapped across the face stayed with me. It broke something in our marriage. It broke faith. It broke trust. I never trusted those hands again. How could the hands that are supposed to hold me and comfort me inflict pain, and then I'll be able to trust those hands? No, every time his arms came towards me, I first thought of violence before I thought of love. So I refuse to have lights on when we had sex in the room. I don't want to see his hands coming at me. Let it be in the dark. And they teach us in sex therapy that it is good to have some light when you're having sex, because you're supposed to be looking into each other's eyes. I had sex with my eyes closed. I don't want to look at the face of the person who hit me. I don't want to look at the lips that are coming to kiss me, but then during the day they had already told me that I was fat and ugly. I didn't want to see those lips coming from my lips, and yet I had to open my body on the bed. I had to be available of the bed because we were taught that you cannot withhold sex. Now I tell the women, if he's sleeping around, withhold the sex, because you cannot sit at home and die of HIV being a faithful wife when he's sleeping around and bringing disease to you in the house. No freaking way. Forgive me for using that word. Withhold the sex. If he refuses, then bring condom. You cannot sleep with me if you are sleeping around and come and infect me while I'm sitting at home being an honest wife. When the Bible says that a man that cannot provide for his family is worse than an infidel, don't reduce it to food, clothing, and shelter. Because if that's all a husband is, I don't need one. I can pay my rent. I can buy my clothes. I can feed myself. There's got to be more that a husband is. A husband must provide psychological, emotional, spiritual, financial safety. If he is not able to do that, he is worse than an infidel. And we cannot pick and choose which part of scriptures to obey. We obey all across board. And Paul said, with such have nothing to do. So if a man does not have the capacity to provide psychological safety and balance for his wife, he's not fit to be a husband. And if I know you are sleeping around, I will stop you from touching my body. Report me to any reportable. I don't care. It's my life. God called only Jesus to die, and he has died. Anybody is dying now. The blood is spilled for nothing. It cannot save anybody. So Jesus has already died. Nobody needs to die again. His blood is enough. So if your wife or your husband is violent on you, sleeping around, please put a barrier on your body. Jesus did not say that he called us into marriage to be abused. He called us into marriage to be built up. It's a type of his relationship with us. Will Jesus cheat on me? Will Jesus slap me? Will Jesus kick me? Will he punch my pregnant belly? Will Jesus hold me after I've had a surgery and kneel on my stomach until the surgery opens because he's a husband or she's a wife? Will Jesus do that? Will Jesus abandon me? Will Jesus ignore me in a crowd and turn to another when we're supposed to be lovers? So let's stop reading this Bible lopsidedly. Let's read it in a way. God said don't withhold sex from one another, but that is in a relationship where one cares for the other and there's concern for one another. There's submission one to another. Not where one is bringing disease to kill them. My cousin died at 40, mama. Faithful woman at home. The man brought HIV and gave her at home. But he put himself on the antiretroviral drugs and didn't tell her he had HIV. Then she entered AIDS and died. He's still walking the streets, mama, on antiretroviral medicine. I feel like shooting him sometimes. I have to ask God to help me to forgive. Faithful girl, godly woman, sitting at home, opening her body to her husband because they say you can't withhold sex. And then he gives her HIV and is walking the streets while she has died. Their daughter, they had only one child. That child was so traumatized, she went into drugs. Mama, maybe on my show, in my session Wednesday, I will connect what is happening to this younger generation to domestic violence with regards to addictions and drug abuse. It's domestic violence, mama. The connection is so open. I have them in my rehab. There are about 15 of them right now. Out of the 15, 13 is issues from home that drove them into drugs. That you can't ignore that kind of statistic, mama. You can't. So I'm not want to dwell only on the physical beating. Some of the abuse, the verbal and psychological, sometimes is physical. Because what it does if they are beating you physically, you can run. But broken down your person until you are on the ground, even if you run, you're carrying the thing with you. It's inside. It has no capacity to think right or act right. So we must not just lock it down on physical violence. We must also open up the psychological, the emotional, the spiritual, the sexual. Mama, I've had pastors' wives run to me to say, Ma said that I must perform anal sex. That if I don't give him anal sex, he will go outside. I said, tell him to go out. But do not disobey God because a man wants to live like an animal. Let him go out. It is not your anal sex that will prevent him from going out. He has made up his mind to go out. He's looking for an excuse. He said, but what will I do? Nothing. Tell God to kill your sexual drive so that it doesn't touch your body. Oh, I told God at a point, I said, kill my sexual drive. I don't want to feel anything so that I don't miss anything. Let him go and sleep with anybody who wants to sleep with. But I don't want, and Mama, I did not know whether I became Aphrodite or asexual. I forgot that I had a vagina. God took care of that. Not one day. 2 years lying down on the same bed with him, and I was not sleeping with him. I told him, you will not touch this body again. Anywhere you want to go, go. Whoever you want to sleep with, sleep. But don't touch my body. I'm tired. I'm tired of sharing. I don't want to share again. I'm not generous again. When you are ready to be my husband, just me and you, come back. We will talk. Outside of that, forget it. Go where you want to go. 2 years. And God killed the sexual desire, and I was fine. You know, Mama, when I took that decision, I had peace. Because every time my heart is thinking, oh God, is he with another woman? Where is he? He's late coming home. I am not at peace. When I relinquished that control and relinquished expectation, which is one more strategy for women, learn to relinquish expectation, then you will not be disappointed. It's not resignation. It's the relinquishing of expectation. They are two different things. So I relinquished expectation and peace flooded my heart. Peace. Peace. With these few words of mine.
Oh my God. God will preserve you, man. God will keep you. Oh my God. Please, let's show her some love. I'm telling you.
Amen.
In the chat box on YouTube, Facebook, just show this precious gift of God. What a colossal blessing. Thank you so much, ma. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is the opening night. It's a 5-day journey. And I'll be bringing Reverend Christie back. But I'd like you to know that we'll be talking about the abused, the abuser, their children. And it's not even just only between husband and wife. We're going to be touching on several things. A barrister will be talking to us, a psychologist, you know, and all that. I'd like to say huge and a massive thank you to you tonight, ma'am. Thank you so very much, so very much. And like I said, after this 5-day event, every Tuesday, I'm going to be bringing different people to come and talk to us. Because I noticed that once there's an issue and everybody is shouting, after a few days, everything goes down. No, we won't let this one go down. We're going to continue to drive and change the trajectory. Let's change the narrative. Let's begin to deal with the foundation. Look at what God did for us tonight. Woo! Thank you so very much, Reverend Christie. People are showing you love in different shades and colors. You know, ooh, our target is to close at 9:30. Therefore, we're going to see her again on Wednesday by God's grace. Thank you again. Right away for another few minutes, we're going to have Enitan Oyenuga. Thank you, ma'am. I know you're still in the studio. Enitan Oyenuga is popularly known as the emotions mechanic. He's an award-winning life coach, a clinical psychologist, psychotherapist, and neuro-linguistic programming expert. He's an emotional freedom techniques practitioner, an anger management certified guru. He's a relationship master and soft skill trainer, an advanced faculty member and trainer of the life coaches. He's the lead coach at Therapist and Emotions Mechanics Workshop. Whew. What a blessing.
Good evening,
An
Mama.
honor to have you tonight. I'm so grateful.
It's a pleasure being here myself. Good evening, Mama. And thank you so much for putting together this initiative, the Another Chance initiative. I'm so pleased. It's really a weapon in our age, our time and age. And it is the right time for us to do this. There's never been a time that has been more right. And we need to come together as social workers on all levels, as pastors, as therapists, as clinicians. We need to go out there to the roads with our brooms to sweep off all this mess. So, Mama, I'm very grateful and privileged. You are indeed a social worker hero, and I praise and I thank you very much. I honor you. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome, sir.
You're welcome.
So please, for the next 15 minutes, we want to listen to you as a professional. This is what I want to be doing, every night, bringing different professionals to us. So please address us.
Okay, first of all, I would like to say thank you to Pastor Christie Bature. She's very much covered everything in the syllabus when it comes to domestic violence, the causes, the preventions, the first aid, and everything, the predispositions and everything she's talked about. What I just wanted to add to what she said is this. We all have a predisposition to anything, any experience whatsoever that our parents have gone through. We remember everything through our genetic codes. Epigenetics, which is the world of DNA, helps us. That mechanism helps us to remember the way our parents' faces look. We resemble our parents in their faces, in their behavior, the way they walk. We remember everything, and we don't discriminate. Our DNA does not discriminate between things they should remember. They will pick up everything, including their personality traits, including the abuses they've gone through in their own lives. Everything is coded into our DNA when we are born. We remember everything. If our parents were abusive, we remember that also. So that makes us susceptible to being abusive. Like Pastor Christie Bature said, everyone is a potential abuser. Everyone exists on a continuum, in the abusive continuum. So many people are very, they are abusive, but in a minute way. They exist at the low end of the continuum. But the issue are the people that have polarized at the high end, of this continuum. They're the ones causing problems in the society. That's why I said that we are all social workers in this industry to sweep off. Everyone has this tendency. We remember, especially if we have parents that were abusive, we remember their personality traits. So this is what we call a predisposing factor to being abusive. Now, there's another factor that if you add to this predisposing factor, that we already have this susceptibility to being abusive because we were born by people that were abusive. The second factor is a precipitating factor. That's a major stressor, something that is happening now. That if you combine it to the fact that you have a predisposition to being abusive, a person that has a predisposition to being abusive, if that person goes through a major life stressor, like being in a relationship with an intimate relationship with someone that is supposed to be your lifeguard, and this person, it turns out to be the one trying to drown you. That's the analogy. Imagine being in the arms of a lifeguard. You are in the ocean, you are drowning, and a lifeguard has come to help you. You're supposed to feel safe in the arms of your lifeguard. Then the lifeguard gets to you and now starts to push your head further inside the water. That is the feeling that people that are abused feel in the hands of their intimate partners. We call this intimate partner violence. Now, if someone already has a predisposition to being abusive because their parents were abusive, then you now combine it with falling into the hands of an abusive partner who now starts to make you go through major life stressors. Like, for example, the person criticizes you. The person is always defensive when they do wrong. The person feels entitled. The person has black and white thinking. Now, people with narcissistic personality disorders, they have black and white thinking. Black and white thinking means that there is no gray in their dictionary. Everything is either black or white. And because of this polarized thinking, they feel that all their source of happiness, their source of joy, all their care, the care they receive in this world should come from their partner. And their partner is not entitled to any one of this. So that's black and white thinking. They feel that is why when they try to woo their partner in the romance and honeymoon phase of the relationship that Pastor Bature talked about, when they try to woo, they always tell their partner, "You mean everything to me. You are the only one that understands me. I cannot live without you. You're the only one that can take care of me." They use all these words when they are trying to woo the person that they are trying to get into the relationship with. And because of our strong need for significance, so many innocent ladies fall into their trap because there's no feeling that can be as strong as being needed. This is the trap that they set. They make their innocent spouses feel highly needed in the beginning of the relationship. And we tend to interpret this as falling in love. We interpret this as love. So when they now get into the relationship, trying to meet the need of somebody that's thinking in black and white, trying to meet the need of somebody that feels that I am totally entitled to all the care from this person. I have a right to be insensitive. I have a right to everything that this person owns. I have a right to control this person. I have a right to restrict this person. Absolutely. When these people fall into the hands of this person, then they start to criticize their partner. They start to be defensive whenever they are wrong. They start to disrespect their partner. They start to actually, I'm talking about personality traits here. They start to live a life of conceitedness. Conceitedness is when you cannot find anything, any reason in this world to respect the person you are in a relationship with. They start to live conceited lives. They start to live expansive lives and all these traits. So when you combine this precipitating factors, these major life stressors, with a predisposition to being abusive in the first place, we have a situation that we call a heat hypothesis. Definitely, you are stuck in an abusive relationship. When you have these two factors, you have a predisposition to being abused because your partner was born in an abusive relationship or to abusive parents. Then you are now caught in an intimate relationship with someone that has a narcissistic personality disorder or someone that gaslights. Like Pastor Bature says, gaslighting is another feature of these people. And gaslighting has to do with when someone tries to rewrite your reality and present it to you. This is what you should believe about your reality. When you think in a particular way, they try to represent it to you. No, you are not thinking like that. The reason why you're thinking like that is because you are spoiled. The reason why you're thinking like that is because you are you are too sensitive. They try to represent to you what you're thinking about. They try to represent to you how you're feeling. You feel a certain way, they will say, no, you don't feel that way. This is how you actually feel. You are going through ingratitude. You are just not grateful. They try to represent to you your behavior. They tell you what people think about you outside. That is not true. They will tell you everybody knows that you are irresponsible. Everybody knows that you are lazy. Everybody knows that you are insensitive. Even your parents know that you are too sensitive. Even your parents know that you are too needy. They start to present your reality to you. And you keep telling this person you are stuck in this relationship with, this intimate partner, that this is not true. Listen to me. This is how I really feel. Then they still try to convince you. They will tell you situations where they've heard people talk about you outside. That even Ade told me last week that your wife is too sensitive, that your wife is too spoilt, that your wife is too needy. That Ade told me that your wife, and same goes for the man too. So abuse comes in form of narcissistic behavior, gaslighting. When you say you have a headache, they will say no. It's because you're thinking too much. You don't actually have a headache. How can someone, and that's the bane of psychology and psychopathology, when you say someone has lost their mind, which people should not dismiss in all this. It is not only about losing lives, like Osinachi went through. Losing mind is also as important as losing lives. Okay, I've spent some time doing some work, doing some internship, doing some training at the neuropsychiatric hospital in Abeokuta, and I have found out that beyond substance abuse, the major reason why most women end up there is because of domestic violence and domestic abuse. In forensic psychology, we've also found out that some women actually come and tell the neuropsychiatric hospital lies just because they want to seek refuge in the hospital from their abusive partners, only for us to do a ward round and do a session round with them and only to fish them out that, madam, sorry, there is nothing wrong with you. You have not lost your mind. Tell us the truth. Then they will now break down in tears. That's when they will now open up and say, please, doctor, I'm just hiding here. This is the only safe place I can be. This is the only place I can be where he will not look for me because he's been stalking me all over town. And no abusive partner will go and look for their spouse in a psychological home. So these are the extremes to which people go through. So when there is a predisposition to being abusive, and this predisposition even is triggered off more through permissive parenting. That is how it starts. The journey starts from a parenting style called permissive parenting. When you permit children, what you're doing is that you are making them live a life of always having what they want. You are showing them love by letting them have what they want. If a child has grown up all through his life, always having what he wants, then he builds up this entitlement mentality that the world owes me. People around owe me. They don't owe me partially. They owe me absolutely. Everyone I meet, just the way my mother has always given me. When I was very small, I heard the story of Omolokun. There was this program we watched when we were young. Omolokun, Omoni Che, Omoni Sisi, Konosi. It was a Yoruba program where a particular parent gave the child everything he wanted. And when the child became a teenager, the parents could not stop. When the child became an adult, one day the child asked that he was interested in eating human flesh. And at that point, the mother and father could not stop him because they had brought him up. Imagine that level of entitlement. They could not stop him until he went and he killed someone in the process. And the police caught him and they put his back against the guard and they shot him. They gave him an execution. And right before the execution, he said he wanted to say something to his mom and called his mom. One last word to you, mommy. When the mom brought the ears, he beat off the mother's ears and said, that is for you, for allowing me to have everything that I have always asked for in my life. If you had been more authoritative, I would not have ended up here. So such children, they grow up with that mentality of being entitled. When they now get into their marriages, they ask these women out. Even the women too, they do it to the men. They ask these women out by using words that suggest that they were brought up with a permissive parenting style. They will say, you are the only one. When for ladies out there, when you hear men say these words, you are the only one that understands me. How can you seek absoluteness in a variable? How can you seek the absolute in a variable? The only one that can understand you is God, and the only one that can be there for you is God and the statue at the roundabout. Because when you get there tomorrow morning, it will be standing there waiting for you. No one else. You cannot seek the absolute in a variable. So they will keep using all these absolute terms. You are the only one that can save me. Another reason, by the time we go on, I will talk about trauma mastery. The reason why women are stuck, some men are stuck in this kind of abusive relationship. Trauma mastery is when you think that you were sent to this person. The person has shown you signs that I'm going to abuse you when I marry you. But you say to yourself, I am the one that God has sent to this person to save him, to win him to Christ. I am the only one. He will change in my hands and no other person's hands. Trauma mastery. Some other people stay in there because of low discomfort threshold. Low discomfort threshold means that they feel it is a bad thing to be without a relationship part-time. It is a sin. It is stigma. My social equity is zero if I am without a relationship for 1 month. It is as good as I am useless. I am worthless. So they keep attracting this same set of people. So when that child that has grown up with this entitlement mentality goes into the relationship, the child will be conceited, the child will be expansive, the child will be proud, the child will be demanding, will be making demands that are not achievable. The child will be controlling, the child will be restricting. So what they do, immediately they start in the relationship, is that they isolate you, just like Pastor Christie has said. They will isolate you. They start to reduce the number of friends that you have. They start to prevent you from reaching out to your close friends. Your family members cannot come to visit. They start to dictate how you will dress. Don't wear makeup because your beauty is for only me alone. Your beauty is not for your consumption, it's not for the world. It is for me alone. You make up only when we are in the house. When you are going out, you don't make up. They restrict their finances. I'm telling you about the cocktail of abuse here. Physical abuse, verbal abuse, which I call tongue lashing. Now, the way the body is created neurologically, the body does not discriminate between all forms of abuse. Because once a person is being abused, the person starts to release neurotransmitters and hormones. A lethal cocktail of norepinephrine, adrenaline, all those hormones. And those hormones ravage the body. When they ravage the body, they are ravaging the body on a cellular level. We think, we feel bad. We feel we are in a crazy age. We feel sad 1 minute. We feel depressed the other minute. We feel suicidal the next minute. We feel like being taking ourselves out of our experience through addiction, through substance use, one other minute. But the ones that are really suffering this ravage are the cells of our body. So when hormones ravage the body as a result of the fact that someone is in an abusive relationship, it's like lining up every cell in your body and you are giving them strokes of the cane. So when that happens, every cell of the body starts to try to defend itself. When it cannot find parasites, when it cannot find pathogens, when it cannot find bacteria or virus or fungus, when it cannot find that, it will naturally turn against the next cell beside it, triggering a chain of autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, lupus. All these diseases sometimes stem from high blood pressure, irreversible high blood pressure, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, panic attack, nightmares, insomnia, depression. All these things starts to unfold just because you have been caught in the hands of an iron hand in a cotton glove. Someone gave you a cotton glove, you felt it was comfortable, you reached out to this person and found that there was an iron hand inside it. So, on all levels, on the physical level, we're suffering. It's not until when we see the scars on our bodies. On an emotional level, we're suffering. On the psychological level, your reality is being denied you. You have a reality, and somebody is painting another picture of your reality to you and to your world. And what this does is that it starts to affect your belief systems. Now, if I have the opportunity, I will talk about trauma itself. Trauma, abuse is a form of trauma, and trauma has to do with when your body cannot align its expectation with what it is going through. When your body cannot align, or your mind cannot align your expectation with the realities that you're going through. When the gap between these two is so huge, you find this experience unjustifiable, undeserved. You're going through suffering. You're not even going through pain, because pain is something that can lead to gain. When you go to the gym, you will be in pain. So you get muscles and you will gain. When you study, you're in pain. When you pass your exams, you gain. But suffering is when you cannot exit pain. That is what happens in abuse. You are actually suffering. And when you're suffering, you don't want to relieve the moment. Especially if it's happened to you over a period of time, you don't want to relieve the moment. When you escape this, your abuser, then you try to bury this experience in your unconscious, not even your subconscious, because your subconscious does not have a vault that is powerful enough. You bury it in your unconscious. Instead of going to seek therapy, instead of coming to a social worker, instead of coming to your pastor, you bury it in your subconscious, and you think your unconscious, and you think it is safe there. That if I hide it there, then my experiences have gone. Only for these experiences to come out in your future in form of cognitive distortions. Your appraisal mechanism starts to fail. That means the way you judge who is safe to be around and who is not safe to be around, it will start to fail. When you find yourself in the arms of somebody that truly loves and cherishes you, you will not be able to identify that time. You will not be able to realize it. You will suspect this person, and you will drive this innocent person out of your life because your appraisal mechanism has been altered, your belief system will have been altered, your interpretation mechanism have been altered. Your belief system is altered because you start to have limiting beliefs. You start to have beliefs that sabotage you. Limiting beliefs like I am not enough, I am not deserving, maybe it's my fault. Who told you it's your fault? It is my fault. Gaslighting has made you feel that everything that goes wrong must be your fault, which is another black and white thinking. Belief is a cocktail of when you are confident about something you don't have clarity about. I always tell people from the psychologist's point of view, belief is something we assess. But when someone has gone through trauma, this person's belief system has been altered. Now you start to have faulty beliefs about yourself, your world, and other people, and your future. You see yourself as a damaged good. You are a damaged good. On whose account? Because somebody else treated you and you treated you badly, then you label yourself as a damaged good. Why? You can never be a damaged good, because value is never of the treated. It's never of the treater, but of the treated. Value is never, I want us to listen to that again. Value is never of the treater, but of the treated. You have value just because you are human. God created you in his image, and no one can change that just because they treated you badly. No one is a custodian of how valuable you are and your worth in life. And always remember that one singular event, a time that you spent with someone, cannot define the rest of your life, because behavior is geared towards adaptation to different environments. When you find yourself in Canada, you will dress like Canadians. When you find yourself in the arms of someone that really deserves you, you will change, especially if this person is a clinical lover and knows the art of delivery of love. So, the abuser is a victim of domestic violence, the abused is a victim, and the innocent child that is watching is an apprentice that is being trained for onslaught in the future. We are all victims of this incident. It is not only one person's issue. There are people that have become addicted to their abusive tendencies. Addicted, just like being addicted to alcoholism. It is a clinical issue. It is clinical. It's shared psychopathology because it exists on a community level also. And we need to address it.
Wow.
I know we have just a few minutes now, and healing is always a big thing for me because that's what I do. I heal people that have gone through abuse, and I help them to shake off everything that has become damaged, from thoughts to emotions to behavior to capacity to their mood and their narratives. There's healing available for everyone. So I'd like to stop here. I believe I've taken so much time.
Oh,
Thank you very much, Ma, for this opportunity.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
And this is just the first night, my people. Thank you, Enitan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ma.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like I said, this 5-day event is just the introduction. I'm going to bring back these people. So it won't be many people. Every Tuesday, like I will bring Dr. Enitan this week. Next week, I will bring Pastor Reverend Bature. Next week, I will bring, so that's what I want to be doing. I'm just using this to introduce them. And if the introduction is like this, oh my God, I'm just blown away. Just blown away. Please let's love on him. Doctor, you are just fantastic.
Thank you very much.
I'm so grateful to God for the precious gift of you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
And Dr. Enitan Oyenuga.
Thank you.
I've been my guest today, and this is the first day of the 5-day event.
Thank you very much.
8 p.m. We are here on the different platforms. This is not about men or women. This is about human beings. He just mentioned healing. He's going to be treating that when I host him. He will be the only person I will be hosting that Tuesday, and I will be able to ask him questions. Some of you have been sending questions. Please keep sending questions. We're going to have a time when we will translate it in, and then we'll take the rest over to navigate with FFA. I want to say thank you so very much to all of you tonight, my guests, Dr. Enitan and Reverend Christie. Thank you so very much. Everyone that joined from all around the world is so amazing. Thank you. If I showed up and you didn't show up, what will I have done? So thank you so much. Let's pass this across. Let's share the links. Tomorrow is going to be another wow. My guest tomorrow is another. In fact, everyone on that flyer is a wow. And there is a dimension of prayer. We're going to be praying also for some of you. Yes, I didn't want to put that forward because some people are so, wow, it's only prayer. Prayer has its place, where the hand of man cannot reach, the hand of God will reach. So we have started that in also. We're trying to cover every aspect, spiritual, financial. I have a home. We'll be talking about that too. Reverend Christie also has a home. And then Dr. Enitan Oyenuga will be collaborating with me, and some of the baristas and all that. We will give you the gist later. Today is just the foundation. The Lord bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you. And those of you that are in an abusive relationship, please step out into safety. We're not telling you to divorce. I'll share this with you. Every marriage that will break will go through 7 stages. The last stage is divorce. The 6th stage is separation. Separate, step into safety. We might come back and we may not come back. God hates divorce, but God also hates murder. Please don't go into coma before you ask for help. My husband, Bishop Felix-Adejumo, will say the cry for help is not the cry of the weak. It is the cry of the wise. Let us be wise. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m.